I spent 2,000 to treat my parents to a grand meal, but when it came time to pay the bill, the waiter instead handed over a bill for 62,000. A gentleman charged his son's 60,000 yuan school promotion banquet to your account. He also left a note, saying that it was authorized by you, uncle. Looking at that loophole-filled note, I directly dialed 110. Hello, I'm being defrauded at a restaurant. The amount is 60,000. My voice wasn't loud, but in this restaurant lobby where quietness and elegance were the selling points, it was as clear as a thunderclap. That last sentence, the amount is 60,000, even caused the surrounding diner's chopsticks to freeze mid-air. Meanwhile, my parents were still in shock and confusion. Xiaofeng, could there be a mistake? Hang up the phone first and let's ask around to make sure. Yeah, calling the police is such a big deal. What if it's really some distant relative who drank too much and is playing a joke? I didn't hang up the phone, calling out the restaurant's address to the other end of the line. Yes, I am right here now and can cooperate with the investigation at any time. The phone hung up. The entire lobby fell into a bizarre atmosphere. In less than a minute, a middle-aged man with a beer belly wearing a sharp suit walked out quickly. Sir, if you have something to say it nicely. Why make a scene and call the police? It might just be a misunderstanding. Doesn't it say on top that it's your uncle? Maybe he's just playing a joke on you, wanting to give you a surprise. He spoke about this matter so lightly, as if 60,000 yuan were just a harmless joke. But my parents were intimidated by his rhetoric and his air of leadership. Yes, Manager Zhao is right. Let's ask around again, it might really be some unreliable relative. Where in our family do we have a relative named Gang? At that instant, a nameless anger flared up in my heart. Because of their kindness, my parents appeared so helpless when facing this kind of scene. This was exactly the kind of situation that scammers and unscrupulous businesses loved to see the most. I took a deep breath. Manager Zhao, first let me repeat. Neither I nor my family have any relative who can be called Uncle Gang. Second, a consumption as high as 60,000 yuan. Without the presence of the bill, without my personal signature, without telephone verification, and without any form of pre-authorization, your restaurant actually dared to charge it directly to my account based on a single note of unknown origin. May I ask, is this your rule for hosting guests? We saw that gentleman chatting very familiarly with your family, and he vowed solemnly that it was authorized by you, so I directly cut him off without mercy. Chatting very familiarly, vowed solemnly. This is your risk control standard as a high-end restaurant. I looked around, pointing at the gorgeous crystal chandeliers on the ceiling and the expensive Chinese paintings hanging on the wall. Ha ha! Your restaurant's hundreds of thousands or millions in renovation are magnificent, but as a result, your core management system isn't even as good as the roadside stall selling spicy hot pot at the alley entrance downstairs. Even that auntie asks before adding an egg. That's right, 60,000 yuan, and they just charged it like that. This shop's management is way too chaotic. Who would dare come to eat in the future? What if it gets charged to my head next time? The more you think about it, the scarier it gets. Manager Zhao couldn't save face anymore. Sir, don't make trouble here unreasonably. You doing this is seriously affecting our business. I'm telling you, this bill has been checked and there's no problem. If you don't clear this bill today, we also have the right to keep you and not let you leave. A threat. A naked threat. Far from being. Afraid, I smiled instead, pulling out my phone to aim at his face, which was twisted with anger, and pressed the record button. Sure. Can you say what you just said one more time? Right in front of my phone camera, and in front of so many guests. Say it clearly one more time, before they arrive. Your restaurant is going to subject me to illegal detention. Manager Zhao's arrogance instantly died out, his mouth opening a few times, but unable to spit out another single word. 10 minutes later, outside the hotel entrance, the red and blue police lights flashed wildly. 2 police officers pushed open the door and entered, the leading veteran officer looking dead serious, while the young one beside him directly flashed his body camera. The moment the police showed up, the oppressive atmosphere in the lobby was instantly dispelled. The eyes of the entire venue swished and focused entirely on the entrance. The just now arrogant and overbearing Manager Zhao instantly performed a Sichuan opera face change, his face full of black lines, turning in a second into wild flattery as he jogged up to greet them, his waist bending almost flat to the ground. Oh, officers, thank you for your hard work taking a trip on such a hot day. It's nothing. Just a little misunderstanding purely. A family matter. His fat body squeezed forward desperately, wanting to block the police's line of sight, pulling the people to the side, begging to squash it. What kind of scene had Officer Wang, the leader, not seen? With a cold face, he bypassed him in one move, his sharp eyes, coming straight toward me. "Hello, are you the one who called the police?" "Yes." In front of the police, I directly laid out the causes and effects clearly without adding drama or playing the victim, just like reporting work entirely relying on acts to speak. The situation is like this. This is the 62,000 yuan bill. This is the note left by that fake uncle. The bill, along with that crappy piece of paper, was handed over, all at once. Officer Wang took them smoothly, and the young officer immediately used his body camera to photograph the evidence up close. Pointing his finger at the note, I directly called out the flaws. Look first. There is only one scribbled gang character on this paper, no full name, no phone number. Could a relative who truly wants to treat guests act like a thief? Second, it says on the paper, "I agreed." Where is the evidence? No audio recording, no screenshots, nothing. The hotel dumped a 60,000 yuan bill on me based purely on this one sentence. Who are they trying to fool? Huh. After listening, Officer Wang's eyes darkened, and he nodded, staring dead at the beside him pale-faced manager Zhao. Regarding the doubts raised by this guest, how do you explain them a 60,000 yuan bill? And you guys didn't even make a phone call or verify with Mr. Lin in person. Manager Zhao was instantly drenched in sweat, cold sweat dripping straight down his greasy fat face. "Officer, we also saw that Mr. Liu spoke so realistically, and the two of them looked familiar, so we let our guard down." The more he spoke, the smaller his voice became. Even he himself felt guilty about this crappy excuse, just when both sides were at a standstill and couldn't back down. The scene suddenly reversed. The just now terrified receptionist girl holding a wireless desktop phone came stumbling and rushing over like holding a time bomb. "Manager Zhao, a phone call, looking for Mr. Lin, saying it's his uncle." The two words uncle came out and the entire venue instantly went dead silent. Led by the two police officers, everyone stared in unison, dead at that phone. A cold sneer arose in my heart. Truly there is a road to heaven, but you won't take it, there is no gate. To hell, yet you break in. The police have already served the dish, and this scammer actually still dares to come to the door to deliver his own head. He must absolutely have scammed people to the point of hallucination, truly believing that relying on a crappy mouth could call a stag a horse. A sharp light flashed in Officer Wang's eyes, and with a calm expression, he signaled for the speaker phone function to be turned on. The young officer understood in a split second, immediately adjusting the equipment. Officer Wang shot a glance at me. "Answer," it, grabbing the constantly shaking phone from the waiter's hand. In front of the whole venue, I directly pressed the speakerphone. From the speaker, there immediately floated out a greasy and fake enthusiastic male voice that echoed through the lobby. "Hey, is this Xiaofeng? I'm your Uncle Liu Gang, ah." That familiar tone made one want to vomit, acting as if biological flesh and blood had been separated and reunited. My mom stood behind me, shaking her head blankly. "I don't know him." My dad was beside her with his vigilance maxed out, his brow directly twisting into a dead knot. Clutching the phone, my tone was ice cold. "I don't know you." The opposite side hastily let out an awkward laugh to cover up. "Oh, you child, you truly are a busy person who forgets things. How can you not know your uncle? When you were little, your uncle even held you in that small park downstairs from your house. Did you forget?" He played the verbal tricks very smoothly, all of which were boilerplate phrases applicable anywhere in the world, not daring to mention a specific place name at all. But I didn't buy this act at all, standing by coldly to listen to him continue his tricks. He still thought I had taken the bait and began to put on the airs of an elder. "Xiaofeng, today you treated your dad and mom to a meal to celebrate their wedding anniversary. For such a big good thing. Your uncle found out and is happy for you. Didn't I think that my son is also hosting a school promotion banquet today? Let's add joy to joy. Let's add joy to joy and gather together to make it lively, right? We're all one family, don't separate things so clearly." The first wave of moral kidnapping was directly arranged. What's this about two separate families for one family? You're successful now doing big business outside, making big money. Can you still be short of this little meal money for your uncle? Listen to your uncle. A person cannot forget their roots. Today your dad and mom are both here, right? In front of so many people you're calling the police and doing this and that. Isn't this making things difficult for your parents? Making them unable to lift their heads in front of relatives? Every stab went into an honest person's weakness. frenziedly using face and family affection to apply pressure, wanting to hold me in a death grip. Hearing this, my dad couldn't suppress his rage on the spot, snatching the receiver in one move. "Who are you, huh? I warn you not to talk nonsense here and ruin my son's reputation. Our family doesn't have a relative like you." My dad flared up on the spot, his protective instinct instantly filling my health bar. Taking back the phone, I had to counterkill. "Mr. Liu, right? Since you say you are my uncle and a relative of my family, then it's very simple." My tone was simple, yet cold as a block of ice, cutting straight to the blood, intentionally pausing for a second to fully whet the whole venue's appetite. "Right now, in front of the officers, state my grandfather and grandmother's names. Or my maternal grandfather and maternal grandmother's names will also do. As long as you say one correctly for this 60,000 yuan, I will pay the bill immediately without another word." The voice that was just now endlessly nagging instantly went dead silent. Over the speakerphone, it was completely the awkward smell of frozen air. At the scene, there wasn't even the sound of breathing anymore. Manager Zhao's face turned green and black, as disgusted as if he had swallowed a live fly whole. After suppressing it for a few seconds, the scammer completely lost his mind. His disguise shattering all over the floor on the spot, his tone directly breaking defense to reveal the true colors of a deadbeat. "You little brat, what the fuck is wrong with you? Is that how you talk to an elder? Just because you studied for a few days, you truly think of yourself as somebody? I'm telling you, don't be ungrateful when you're being given respect. Today you're paying this bill whether you want to or not. Otherwise, I'll make you suffer from a caring." Uncle, he instantly turned into a mobster spouting death threats. "Lost your mind, huh? Lost your mind, right?" I let out a cold laugh. "Respect is earned by yourself, not given by others. Which private room did you spend this money in? Don't hide behind the phone. The police officers want to chat with you about family matters in person. Do you dare?" The opposite side barked wildly like a mad dog, his mouth full of filth to cover up his useless, wild rage. Right after that, with a loud snap, he fled in panic and hung up the phone. The lobby fell dead, silent. The drama-watching crowd understood everything completely now, their eyes filled with utter disdain. Putting down the phone, my eyes locked dead onto the completely deflated manager. "Zhao!" Officer Wang's eyes were sharp as knives, his voice terrifyingly cold. "Manager Zhao, do you still feel this is a family matter now?" Manager Zhao's legs went soft, almost kneeling down. In his heart, he knew perfectly well that this time he had completely blown open the roof. The officer's eyes looked as if they wanted to skin him alive. "Go immediately and bring out the recordings from your restaurant lobby, the front desk, and all the public cameras. Right now." His aura was fully unleashed, leaving absolutely zero room for negotiation. The manager was scared out of his wits, scrambling and rushing straight toward the surveillance room. His arrogant flames were crushed to absolute pieces. Turning around, the officer's tone softened. "Mr. Lin, please try to recall from the moment you entered until you took your seat. Did you notice any suspicious person during that time?" My brain immediately went into hyper-playback mode. My professional habit kicked in. I usually tend to scan everyone around me down to the last detail. Entering the door and heading straight for the window seat, the old man at the neighboring table was extremely abnormal. In his 50s, wearing a baggy jacket, he exuded a sense of uneasiness all over, with shifty eyes constantly glancing toward us. While chatting, he even desperately turned his body and perked up his ears to listen. I thought he was just curious at the time, so I didn't pay it much mind. Thinking about it now, he must be that scammer. Officer Wang nodded. "Do you remember his physical features? Square face, rather dark skin, a bit balding. When he smiles, there are a lot of wrinkles at the corners of his eyes. He looks very honest and simple. It's exactly this type of person who possesses this kind of non-threatening face, whose scams are usually the most fatal." Right after my words landed, manager Cho rooshed back, carrying a laptop together with a technician, his attitude completely shifting as he sweated profusely, trying his best to look helpful. "Officers, the footage has been pulled out. It's all here. For that school promotion banquet that cost 60,000, there must be registration info, right? Who is the registrant? What phone number did they leave?" The manager slapped his forehead hard, zooming back to the front desk like a mad dog. Flipping through the records, he immediately ran back, clutching a registration ledger, his finger trembling wildly as he pointed at a page. "Found it right here. The reserved room is the Peony Pavilion in the VIP area upstairs. The registrant is Liu Xiaohui. The number left is the one that just called. The registered name is Liu Gang. Rock-solid evidence." The clues formed a perfect closed loop. The scammer hadn't escaped at all. He was hiding right inside this building. Call for backup, lock down the peony pavilion. Control everyone of the scene. The beside me officer acted with absolute lightning speed, immediately picking up his walkie-talkie to call for reinforcements and seal the scene. Right at this moment, the surveillance footage switched over. The screen captured it with absolute clarity. Just as we sat down, that middle-aged man in the dark jacket, Liu Gang, stood up. Pretend to make a phone call. He paced back and forth by the neighboring table, his ears perked up the whole time, desperately leaning toward our side. In the surveillance, I was pulling out the wedding anniversary gift prepared for my mom, a sparkling pearl necklace, and putting it on her with my own hands. The old couple smiled so much their mouths couldn't close, the whole family full of harmony. Meanwhile, that Liu Gang was standing just a few steps away, staring dead at that necklace, his eyes literally beaming with light as his brain did the math. Seeing this, a chill went down my spine. Turns out, from the very moment we entered the door, our family had been targeted by this old fox. Right after that, an even more enraging scene came up. After we finished our meal and stood up to leave, we bumped right into Liu Gang, who was preparing to go to the front desk. In the surveillance, he suddenly acted like he was pumped with adrenaline, nodding and bowing like crazy toward my parents, muttering away as if offering congratulations. The old couple thought at the time it was just a drunk guest from another table, who had mistaken them for someone else. Out of politeness, they smiled and gave a nod back. Who could have guessed? Who could have guessed that this single polite nod would actually become the ironclad proof in his mouth that he was very close with our family? Seeing this scene, my mom trembled all over with anger, feeling a wave of lingering fear. Heavens, how can a person be so utterly wicked? The subsequent surveillance footage slammed the final nail into the coffin. Liu Gang walked to the front desk, pulled out the crappy piece of paper prepared beforehand, and slapped it down for the young waiter. While talking complete nonsense, he pointed at our retreating figures, acting with such absolute realism. The waiter was completely brainwashed by his combo of moves. He unexpectedly took the note for real. The entire process of this empty glove wolf crime was exposed inside out by the surveillance. The truth was completely laid bare. Manager Zhao stared at the computer screen, his face as gray as soot. In his heart, he knew perfectly well that this time, no matter how the restaurant tried to wash its hands, it couldn't clean itself. He turned his head, his voice shaking like he was begging for food. Mr. Lin, I'm sorry, this is absolutely our major blunder. We were blind and our management fell short. Look, regarding this, saying all this now is too late. Too late, I demand. Everything be handled strictly by the book. Right after my words landed, several backup police officers had already rushed into the lobby. Officer Wang waved his large hand, his eyes sharp as he led the men straight for the elevator, locking the target on the peony pavilion upstairs. This meticulously planned trap was about to welcome its most spectacular backfire. The show has officially begun. At the entrance of the peony pavilion, two thick red mahogany doors were shut tight, providing top-tier soundproofing. Outside the door, the police were exuding an aura of pure menace, the atmosphere tense to the absolute extreme. Inside the door, the scammer's family was still clinking, glasses and changing cups drinking up a storm. Officer Wang didn't even bother to knock. He directly jerked his chin toward his back, and two officers, one on the left and one on the right, slammed the main doors open with a violent shove. With a booming crash, the two doors slammed hard against the walls, making the corridor echo loudly. The noisy sounds of toast-making in the room were instantly cut off. Everyone was completely dumbfounded by this display. Around the massive round table, over 20 people were crammed together. Right in the middle at the head seat, that balding man wearing the dark jacket was holding up a wine glass, his face completely flushed from drinking, with spit flying everywhere. He was bragging his head off right there. This bastard was precisely the bad-to-the-bone scammer from the surveillance, Liu Gang. Seeing the aggressive-looking police, the wild laugh on his face instantly froze. The wine glass held mid-air, directly locked in place. Sitting beside him was a boy with a face full of childishness. Who should be his son, Liu Xiaohui? His face was still carrying the smugness of a future college student, but right now he was completely terrified. Officer Wang's eyes were like knives pinning dead onto Liu Gang, as his voice boomed through the whole venue like a massive bell. Liu Gang, you are suspected of fraud. Come with us right now. The moment these words came out, the whole venue exploded. A large part of Liu Gang's drunkenness was instantly scared away. He snapped right up, the fake smile that looked uglier than crying squeezed onto his face, as he waved his hands desperately. Officer! Oh, there's absolutely a mistake. What kind of fraud, huh? I was just playing a joke with my biological nephew. The brat is ignorant. Why did he actually call the police spotting? Me at the back with a face full of frost. He instantly switched his acting skills, putting on the tragic facade of a heartbroken elder. Xiaofeng, how can you be so careless about what's important, child? Hurry up and explain clearly to the police. Why make a scene within the family? Today is your brother's school promotion banquet. Pulling this stunt, where am I supposed to put this old face of mine? This old fogey's ability to turn around and bite back was simply supernatural. After a moment of daze, a table full of aunts and uncles immediately started chiming in all at once with a flurry of words. Exactly, such a tiny matter. Why call the police on your own flesh and blood? Young people nowadays truly are cold-blooded and ruthless. An elder gives you a way out and you won't even take it. Kid, that's enough. Look how anxious you've made your uncle. Don't cause trouble for the elders at home. The group of people buzzed around like flies, wanting to rely on their strength in numbers to use worldly wisdom and family ties to pressure me, trying to forcefully call a stag a horse. My mom's resolve softened and she began to hesitate again, quietly tugging at the corner of my clothes with eyes full of pleading, thinking the scene had turned too ugly and wanting me to back down and drop it. My dad saw right through it, directly reaching out to firmly press down on Mom's hand, taking a step forward without making a sound, to shield me like a mountain. This single action instantly filled me with ultimate confidence. Braving the spit of these old fools, I pushed through the crowd and went straight to Liu Gang's face, not bothering to waste words on him and not giving those relatives even half a glance. I directly pulled out my phone, found the freshly recorded call audio, and decisively pressed the play button. You little brat, what the fuck is wrong with you? Is that how you talk to an elder? I'm telling you, don't be ungrateful when you're being given respect. Today you're paying this bill whether you want to or not. Otherwise I'll make you suffer. Liu Gang's hysterical, filth-spewing roar blared through the speaker, filling the entire room for everyone to hear. The just now rowdy, peony pavilion instantly went dead silent. It went so dead silent that you could hear a pin drop. All the voices chiming in were cut clean off. The relative defense squad was completely dumbfounded, the expressions on their faces each more comical than the last. Turning off the recording, I lifted my head, my gaze stabbing into Liu Gang's eyes like a nail. My good uncle, just now on the phone. You didn't have this kind of face. It was not this kind of face. My voice wasn't loud, but every word smashed into Liu Gang's skull like a massive iron mallet. You couldn't even squeeze out a single word of my own grandparents' names. That old face of Liu Gang's instantly put on a grand color palette drama, turning from a posturing pig liver, red to a dead fish white from being skinned in public, then to an embarrassing iron blue color, and finally turning completely gray like a rag. Beside him, his son Liu Xiaohui's face flushed deep red with mixed shame and anger. With his worldview completely shattered to pieces, he slammed his head down, wishing he could vanish into the ground on the spot. Officer Wang's ice-cold voice smashed down, directly sealing the deal on this farce. Still making up stories. The surveillance plus the audio recording is rock-solid evidence. Not bothering to waste any more words on his nonsense, he waved his hand to the officer behind him, with a sharp clack. Pair of silver handcuffs right in front of his entire family was locked dead onto that salty pig hand of his that was just preparing to brag. Liu Gang was like a dead dog with its bones pulled out, dejectedly being dragged out by the police. The just now overwhelmingly proud school promotion banquet turned in a second into a massive social death scene, becoming the laughingstock of the entire venue. Right at the moment he was about to be escorted out the door, a middle-aged woman wailed loudly and chased after them, clutching my arm tightly. Young man, I beg you to lift your hand and let him off of this once. This should be Liu Gang's wife, Liu Xiaohui's biological mom. Her face was covered in snot and tears, her hair looking like a crazy woman's, her eyes filled with pure terror and pleading. Water got into his brain and he was confused for a moment. He really isn't a bad person. She said Liu Gang's heart had gone rotten from gambling a while back, accumulating a mountain of loan shark debt and being chased all over the streets. Hosting this school promotion banquet was purely to slap his own face until it swelled to look like a fat man, to act like a big shot in front of relatives, and then find a sucker to pay for the sky-high meal money without anyone knowing. He also did it for the kid. Which biological father doesn't want his son to have face and report to college with absolute pride? He was driven to desperation before coming up with such a crappy idea. Her crying was truly heartbreaking. This script was simply the ceiling of moral kidnapping, mentioning "for the kid" at every turn as if holding an immunity pass that could whitewash any rotten deed. My mom was naturally soft-hearted, hearing the opposite side cry so tragically. Plus that phrase "for the kid." Her savior complex flooded the scene on the spot. Her lips moved a bit, looking like she wanted to plead for the scammer. Seeing right through it, I quickly pressed down on Mom's shoulder, giving her a reassuring look to steady her. Turning around, I stared dead at that crazy woman who still wouldn't let go, my tone cold as ice, maxing out the pressure. Auntie, I'll just ask you one thing. Just because you want your son to have face, you can righteously go and scam someone else's hard-earned money just because you want your son to have pride. You can treat my biological dad and mom who came here today for their anniversary as super suckers to be played around with at will. Who is going to pay for my parents' face? Who is going to settle the bill for our mental damages? The few sentences were like a chain of blades, each strike fatal, directly ripping her tragic motherly love act to absolute shreds. She was countered on the spot to the point where she couldn't even squeeze out a fart, the hand clutching me instantly loosening like a deflated balloon. It's simply hilarious. On what grounds? Why is your family's crown prince a treasure while other people's parents deserve to be treated like trash? Why is it that because your family lacks money, you're in the right, while other people's hard-earned money deserves to be sucked dry by you? Right at this moment, the future college student Liu Xiaohui, who had been keeping his head down without a word, silently stepped forward. He didn't throw a tantrum or roll on the ground like his mom. He walked straight up to me with red eyes, and with a thud gave me a deep 90-degree bow. I'm sorry, brother. I'm sorry. This whole mess is the sin my dad committed dragging you guys down. For this meal money, even if I have to move bricks or smash pots and sell iron, I will definitely pay you back. In this kid's eyes, there was none of his father's shifty look, nor his mother's thick-skinned shamelessness. It was entirely a sense of shame that wished he could find a hole in the ground to crawl into and a sense of responsibility forced out from his bones. Looking at this teenage boy who was completely a different breed from his deadbeat dad, mixed emotions welled up in my heart. When it came down to it, he was also a victim dragged into a ditch by his biological father. On what was originally a day of great joy, he was forcefully smeared by his dad with a coating of foul mud that couldn't be washed off. I stayed silent for a few seconds looking at him. This is not your fault, but your dad must take legal responsibility for the rotten things he did himself. As for this money, I won't pay a single cent. The restaurant's management is a total mess to allow such a massive landmine to be triggered, so they must take full responsibility to back it up. The moment these words came out, that mother and son froze on the spot. Manager. Zhao even shuddered all over from fear. Not bothering to waste time on the weeping mother and son beside me, I walked straight to Manager Zhao. My dad and mom also followed sturdily behind, staring at his face, which looked uglier than attending a funeral, the temperature instantly dropping to the freezing point. Now that the person has been locked up, Manager Zhao, we should properly calculate this 60,000 yuan bad debt, plus our family's mental compensation fee. Returning to the first-floor lobby, the atmosphere was simply night and day compared to just now. The drama-watching crowd had basically dispersed, leaving only our family and the restaurant staff at the scene. Manager Zhao's arrogant attitude of looking down on people was completely gone, following behind my rear like a lackey, nodding and bowing. Hey, Mr. Lin. Mr. Lin, you must absolutely calm your anger. For today's matter, 1,000 errors and 10,000 wrongs, it's entirely the restaurant's fault. Our management leaked and our staff was blind, which caused you two elders to suffer such a great grievance. Look, how about we do this? Today, your family's own consumption of 2,000 yuan is directly on the house as an apology. As for that 60,000 yuan hole, put your heart at absolute rest. Our restaurant will shoulder it entirely. We absolutely won't charge you a single cent. Do you see if this handling result is acceptable? His eyes were full of testing, staring at me eagerly for a reply, wanting to use a free meal to settle privately and wipe away the bad debt himself. This was likely the last remaining card in his hand and the greatest sincerity he could offer. If it were ordinary folks running into this crappy matter, they might have just taken the graceful exit. After all, they didn't lose money and even got a free meal. But I just wouldn't buy this act. Picking up the teacup, I leisurely blew off the tea dregs without taking a single sip, and then slammed it heavily onto the table, producing a sharp thud. Lifting my eyelids to look at him, I shook my head without any politeness. Manager Zhao, did you misunderstand some key point first? I eat, I pay, it's natural and right. The 2,000 yuan we spent ourselves, I will settle it without a single cent missing. I didn't come here to beg for food or take cheap advantages. I came to defend my rights. Second, that 60,000 yuan bad debt has absolutely nothing to do with me in the first place. It was you guys who were blind and let the scammer in, so this blame should have been shouldered by you guys anyway. using your own messy situation as leverage to get me to shut up and keep the peace. Don't you think it's hilarious? A few words smashed over, and his fake smile instantly welded onto his face. Presumably, having been a manager for so many years, he had never seen such a tough nut like me, who refused to be swayed by soft or hard approaches. Leaning my body forward, my gaze locked dead onto him. What we need to chat about right now is not that 60,000 at all, but the compensation your restaurant must give to me and my family. Compensation? The fat guy's eyeballs almost popped onto the floor as if he had heard an alien language. You didn't hear wrong. It is precisely compensation. I directly broke it down and analyzed it, calculating the account with absolute clarity. First, today is my parents' 30th wedding anniversary. Just because of the scammer you guys let in, the old couple was scared out of their wits. A perfectly good, joyous event was messed up into a police and robbers movie scene. For this mental damage. Fee Humph, you guys must cough it up. Second, I was pointed at the nose and cursed as unfilial in this lobby, and was threatened over the phone by the scammer. And even personally threatened by you to detain me. My personal dignity and personal safety were entirely damaged. For this mental damage fee, you guys still have to cough it up. Third, helping you wipe your massive rear wasted a bunch of my time and energy, consecutively delaying my subsequent work arrangements. For this lost work fee, you guys likewise have to cough it up. With every point I threw out, his face turned pale by another degree. After the 3 points were calculated, his entire body was already as bloodless as a piece of white paper. Pulling out a tablet from my bag, I brought up the legal statutes prepared just now, while waiting for the police, pushing them right under his eyes. Look clearly, Articles 7 and 10 of the Consumer Protection Law. Consumers receiving services enjoy the right to have their personal and property safety, as well as their personal dignity, free from infringement. In this backfire, far from doing a good job with safety checks, your restaurant even wore the same pants as the scammer after the incident, teaming up to apply pressure on me. To put it grandly, this is called serious dereliction of duty on your part. To put it small, you are an accomplice to a fraudster. Staring at the law articles in black and white on the screen. The sweat on his forehead was literally flowing down like a turned-on faucet. Even if he were beaten to death, he would never have guessed that this young man in front of him, who wore glasses and looked quite gentle, not only had a mouth like a knife and calculated accounts with extreme viciousness, but was also, holy crap, a master who understood the law. Taking advantage of his weakness to take his life, my style shifted as I directly cut toward his most painful soft underbelly. Manager Zhao, I do risk investment. The moment these few words were tossed out, Ta shifted and shuddered violently. When we evaluate projects, we look not only at how much money is made, but we place even more weight on risk control and the brand name. For such a massive national chain high-end restaurant like yours, how much this gold-lettered brand name is worth, you know better in your heart than us. If today's mess gets exposed across the entire internet, scammer targeting accurately restaurant management falling flat manager, threatening customers, guess how smashed your brand name will be. How will the parent company's stock price drop? How many 60,000s? Will the evaporated money be enough to cover? When this lightning strikes down, can you shoulder it? That last sentence, deliberately slowing down my speaking speed, maxed out the lethality directly, every single word acting like a massive iron mallet, swung full circle to smash fiercely at his heart. Under my professional dimension-reducing strike of peeling back the layers, his psychological defense line crashed down with a boom. How would he dare waste another half-sentence of nonsense? Shaking like a Parkinson's patient, he pulled out his phone. Shaking like someone with Parkinson's while pulling out his phone. Frantic dialing for backup. Hello, Director Chen. The sky is falling. His voice was filled with a whiny tone, like he was about to piss himself from fear. My dad and mom watched the whole process from the side, seeing how I used a dimension-reducing strike to force a manager who used to act big on someone else's power into a stray dog. The panic in the two elders' eyes had long since vanished, replaced entirely by a protective pride and full gratification. I knew perfectly well in my heart that in this tough battle for compensation, I had already rubbed the opposite side against the ground for an hour. Afterwards, the phone in my pocket rang. It was Officer Wong calling. Directly over the phone, he leaked the results of the station's sudden interrogation to me inside out. That fake Uncle Liu Gang had confessed everything down to his underwear. My guess was right. He was just an old-timer and a habitual offender. He didn't change his name when moving around, going exactly by Liu Gang. A local. Thug he didn't have a proper job and was a rotten gambler backing over 100,000 in loan shark debt outside. Before this, he relied on this trick of randomly recognizing relatives to hitch free food and drinks, succeeding repeatedly in surrounding counties. He had eaten his fill of free meals worth hundreds or thousands. Every time the people who got hitched saw that the money wasn't much, and they either found calling the police too troublesome or embarrassing or truly thought they had mistaken their relative. Suffering in silence allowed him to blend in and get fatter, making his courage grow completely wild. He even summarized a set of criminal strategies. During the interrogation, he spilled everything. The crime was directly divided into 4 steps, practically like a fraud assembly line. Spotting eavesdropping, striking up a conversation, and forced kidnapping. Step 1. Spotting. He specially staked out high-end restaurants, casting a wide net to catch big fish. His business profile was extremely accurate, especially picking those family dinners that looked like they didn't lack money. Bringing along the whole family, old and young, full of harmony. Because these old foxes knew perfectly well that this kind of family valued affection and was dead set on saving face, making them absolutely the fattest meat on the chopping board. Step 2. Eavesdropping. Once the prey took their seats, he immediately moved to the neighboring table, perking up his ears to eavesdrop like crazy to piece together intel. Who was the grandfather, who was the grandson? What holiday was being celebrated today, and what kind of work they did? All of it was completely grasped by him. These scraps of details were all used by him as hole cards for climbing family ties later. Step 3. Striking up a conversation. After figuring out the background, he would eye the window when you went to the restroom or to settle the bill, forcefully going up to get cozy with the elders of the family. Simply getting cozy. He would casually toss out a line like, "Brother, sister-in-law, long time no see," or blindly shout, "Wishing you prosperity." One doesn't slap a smiling face. Even if a normal person didn't know him, they would definitely give a polite nod back. This single nodding action became his absolute best ironclad proof to act like an acquaintance in front of the waiters. Step 4. Forced kidnapping. When it came time to pay the bill, he directly dumped the sky-high bill on your head, relying on his status as a relative and that ghostly lie of "I agreed" to forcefully shift the blame. Once exposed, he would immediately launch a phone bombardment, pulling a PU on you with rotten words like "not giving face," "forgetting your roots," and "ungrateful white-eyed wolf." He played moral kidnapping to the extreme, making you obediently cough up money to avoid trouble. Officer Wong shook his head straight over the phone. This kind of precise pig-killing plate using family affection and face as a knife specifically focused on honest people's weaknesses. It was simply disgusting to the core. After listening to this combo of moves, a cold sweat broke out across my back. After all this time, from the very second I stepped into the restaurant doors, our family had already become the dish on his plate. The reason this bastard targeted us was even more hair-raising to hear. Turns out that pearl necklace I personally put on my mom was spotted by him. In those dog eyes of his, that was a flashing sign of more money than brains. Moreover, seeing the whole family full of harmony, with my dad and mom looking like honest folks whose hearts were too soft at first glance, he saw right through our love for saving face, thinking we might just admit bad luck to keep the peace. Plus, eavesdropping on us celebrating our wedding anniversary made him even more dead set on slaughtering us. He felt that the more a family valued affection, the easier the women and kids would be fooled by the family affection card being forced to use money to settle matters. He calculated every single step down to the bone, even passing the scene of how to casually run into my parents and nod through his brain 800 times beforehand, each link locked into the next, stepping dead onto humanity's most fatal weaknesses. After listening to these inside details, I simply didn't dare think carefully about it. If today I had cowed just a tiny bit, if I had listened to my mom's words to compromise and drop it, or if I had been dazed by that set of grand principles over his phone call, then this massive pit of 60,000 yuan would have absolutely smashed right onto our family's head. After my mom finished listening to the case briefing, she slapped her chest straight to catch her breath. Oh my heavens, how is this just fraud? This is simply a beast that eats people without spitting out the bones, a beast without spitting out the bones. My dad was also beside her with a dark face. The more he thought about it, the more lingering fear he felt. Cutting off the phone, the fire in my heart, far from being extinguished, burned even wilder instead. I turned around and told this freshly baked, scorching hot inside story pure and intact, without emotion, to that manager Zhao who was currently anxious as an ant on a hot pot. I directly threw it in his face, telling him that Liu Gang was an old hand with extremely low-down methods, while our family was purely sent to the door as fat sheep to be slaughtered because of your restaurant's civ-light security. These heavy bombs were absolutely my hardest hole cards for striking the restaurant next. Half an hour later, the restaurant's regional grand director finally showed up after taking her sweet time. The one who came was a woman in her 30s, wearing a brand-name high-end custom suit with exquisite makeup radiating a fierce aura of a workplace elite all over. But inside this feigned aura, what leaked from her bones was entirely an arrogance that looked down on everyone and a disdain for people. This woman was surnamed Chen, precisely that Director Chen whom Manager Zhao had called for help over the phone just now. Coming up, it was first a set of soulless robot-like apologies, followed by going straight to the point. Going straight to this point, she put on a condescending posture of charity, wanting to quickly gloss over this matter. She leisurely took out from her brand-name bag a stack of flashily printed cards, pushing them directly under my eyes. Mr. Lin, this time's matter was indeed a failure of management at our branch. To apologize, take these 5,000 yuan worth of vouchers. You can use them at any shop under our group's name. I hope your family will visit often in the future to give us more opportunities for improvement. That high and mighty tone was simply identical to dismissing a beggar. Using 5,000 yuan worth of vouchers to fool. Ghosts, huh? Staring at the stack of crappy paper pieces on the table, I was tickled pink with anger on the spot. Our family suffered fraud and intimidation, got dirt thrown at us in public, and a perfectly good 30th anniversary was messed up into a pot of porridge. After all that drama, their so-called apology was forcing me to dig into my own pocket. To continue spending money in this crappy place that couldn't even guarantee personal safety, it was simply wildly out of bounds. Absurd to the absolute extreme. I didn't even give it a single glance, directly pushing that stack of crappy vouchers back intact, finding it dirtying my hands. My voice. Finding it dirtying my hands, my voice was pressed extremely low, filled with knives inside. Director Chen, your meaning is that our family suffered such a great grievance, and in the end there isn't a single cent of compensation, and we still have to spend our own money to boost your performance. Right, the mask-like fake smile on Director Chen's face instantly cracked. She would never have guessed in her wildest dreams. That far from taking the bait, I directly slapped her face right onto the ground. Mr. Lin, we have already squared that 60,000 yuan, bill, shouldering the loss ourselves. Now we are showing such great sincerity, yet you make a scene like this. Aren't you being a bit ungrateful when you're being given respect? She finally couldn't fake it anymore, her tone full of annoyance and a counter-biting accusation. Squared a 60,000 yuan bill, I snapped right up, standing high and mighty to stare dead at her, my eyes filled with complete disdain. That bad debt originally didn't have a damn cent to do with me. It was a mess poked open by your own blindness. Isn't you guys wiping your own rears natural and right? How can it come out of your mouth? To become a blessing from the heavens instead, as for the total bullshit sincerity you mentioned. My cold eyes swept across that stack of paper. If I may speak bluntly, I only see perfunctoriness and naked insult. Director Chen's face turned directly black as soot. With her arms crossed, she leaned back against the chair, her gaze cold as a venomous snake. Then what do you want, huh? Name a price yourself. I'm warning you, don't be ungrateful when you're being given respect. Staring at that smelly face of hers like a dead pig that wasn't afraid of boiling water, I completely gave up on the notion of reasoning with this kind of scum. With a cold laugh, I grabbed my bag in one move and took my dad and mom's personal belongings. What do I want? You guys will find out shortly, leaving behind the harsh words. Without giving them even a single extra glance, I led the old couple straight to the front desk. Under those two pairs of eyes that looked like they had seen a ghost. I pulled out my card and settled our own consumption of 2,088 yuan. Completely clean. Right after tearing off the bill. Receipt. I stormed out of this disgusting to the core crappy restaurant without turning my head. Returning home, I settled down the startled old couple, pulled out my laptop, and went straight to work. In the dead of night, there remained only the critical hit sounds of the keyboard under frantic output. I laid out this shocking massive pit I stepped into this afternoon, inside out down to the original flavor, without leaving out a single punctuation, mark from the 62,000 free ride bill to the dead fat manager's intimidation and threats, from the premium deadbeat's phone brainwashing to the police's heaven. Sent justice to arrest the guy, along with the pig-killing plate strategies taught by the police officers, and that Director Chen taking 5,000 yuan of crappy vouchers, to act like a big shot with a disgusting face. Every detail and every dialogue was a one-to-one hardcore restoration, hitting hard with every blow. Right after I released the fatal ironclad proof, the video of the manager threatening to detain people, the pitch-changed audio recording of the scammer breaking defense, and that blurred sky-high bill all served as Thor's hammers, smashed one by one onto the internet. At the very end of the post, I directly typed out a nuclear bomb-grade title capable of blowing up the local scene, coordinates to avoid a mine, high-end restaurant costing over $1,000 per person. Celebrating my parents' anniversary, we were actually forcefully stuffed with a 60,000 bill by a stranger. The regional director threw 5,000 in vouchers. To force me to shut up, checking it over. With a click of the mouse, it was distributed across the entire web, the largest local forum, the shop exploration platforms, and my personal Weibo, a three-pronged approach for a full platform bombardment. Confirming the send, I knew perfectly well in my heart that the true ultimate counterattack had only just pulled back its grand curtain. The explosive power of the internet was simply fierce beyond imagination. Fierce beyond imagination. Not even an hour after the post was sent out, the phone notification sounds went completely crazy, ringing without stop. The data for comments, reposts, and likes skyrocketed upward like a mad dog. Holy crap, 60,000 yuan, this crappy shop. They must be crazed for money. This scammer's method is so damn disgusting, specifically targeting harmonious families. A pure psychopath. The blogger remained calm in the face of danger, calling the police, recording the audio, and tearing the manager apart. With a smooth combo of moves. Too badass. An absolute IQ gap match, mad respect. 5,000 yuan in vouchers. Ha ha ha, laughing my head off. Is this restaurant's PR missing a brainstem? In the beginning, the drama-watching crowd was just chasing the scammer to curse him, feeling the injustice for our family. But very quickly, the direction of public opinion took off right on the spot. My hardcore exposure post was like a depth charge directly blowing up all the rotten mud underneath this shop. The comment section instantly went out of control, evolving into a web-wide grievance meeting to crusade against this unscrupulous restaurant. Finally, someone skinned this black shop alive. Last time our company's team-building private room was forcefully hijacked, the manager acted dead and didn't dare to even squeeze out a single fart. I accidentally wandered into their back kitchen once. That image was simply indescribable. Even a dog would vomit looking at it. Pure trash through and through. The service attitude is rotten to the core, and every single waiter carries a dead person face looking incredibly smug. Where do they get the face to act big? Finding a steel wool ball in the dish and asking them for an explanation. In the end, they just waived the fee for one dish. Are they dismissing a beggar? Countless victims who had been disgusted by this shop, all huddled together for warmth under my post, dumping their grievances like crazy. Every single piece of blood-stained real verification directly ripped the so-called high-end fig leaf of this crappy shop into absolute shreds, exposing the foul-smelling foundation inside that wanted to be a hypocrite. The next day, the moment I opened my eyes and grabbed my phone to look, the matter had blown up completely, steadily dominating the #1 spot on the local hot search list. Restaurant sky-high bill. New type of family kidnapping fraud. 5,000 yuan vouchers. Several tags were purple hot with an eye-catching explosive sign hanging behind them. My account exploded with tens of thousands of followers overnight, and my private messages literally froze up. It was entirely filled with solid support sent by netizens, along with tons of dark history about the restaurant. Journalists from major local media and TV stations. Major media and TV stations were like sharks smelling blood, looking for me like crazy, scrambling to get an exclusive interview with me. What cracked the scene open the most was that the official Big V of the Market Supervision Bureau directly parachuted into the comment section, announcing that they had received a massive amount of real-name reports and would immediately form a special task force to file a case and go all out against this crappy shop. This fire was now completely lit. The butterfly had just flapped its wings, and a historic hurricane capable of pulling this catering giant up by its roots had already charged right in front of us. That morning, the moment the stock market bell rang, the stock price of the listed company behind the restaurant directly took a dive and crashed massively. Within less than half an hour of opening, it plummeted by 5%, wiping out several hundred million in market value instantly. The hotline of the headquarters PR department was probably about to smoke from being cursed at. The entire line collapsed, and the whole group from top to bottom was putting out fires. I sneered in my heart. That wildly arrogant director Chen, who thought taking 5,000 yuan could buy my silence, probably wishes she were dead right now. In the afternoon, a strange number crawled into my phone. The moment it connected, a low-down subservient, and even terrified tremor immediately floated over from the opposite side. A terrified tremor. Hello! May I ask if this is Mr. Lin Feng? I am the head of the PR department at the catering group headquarters. My surname is Zhou. Mr. Lin, we kowtow and admit our wrongs to your entire family for the brainless, moronic operations of our employees downstairs. This matter is absolutely a monumental blunder in our management. We accept all penalties completely. Mr. Lin, look, whichever day you are free. The chairman of our group wants to personally visit your door to apologize to the two elders. Listening to the pleading voice on the opposite side that was on the verge of tears, my heart felt zero waves, and I even wanted to laugh a bit. This outcome had long been within my calculations. If you take a step back, capitals fangs, we'll directly rip you to shreds. Only by stabbing a knife directly into the skeleton and brand name they care about most will they obediently kneel, down to act as a dog. You guys pick the time and place, but let's put the harsh words up front. I will be bringing a lawyer along. I knew that the sky high. Mental compensation I wanted was finally about to be delivered into my hands. The negotiation. Table was moved directly to the VIP lounge of a 5-star hotel. Never going to their own foul-aired crappy shop, bringing along the old couple and my best friend, a grand lawyer who specialized in commercial lawsuits, we charged in right on time. The big boss of the catering group showed up, in his early 50s with graying hair, wearing a low-profile yet high-end outfit. He looked quite like an educated man. Following behind his rear was precisely that PR person Joe who had called to plead for mercy. As for that dead-fat manager and the arrogant director Chen, they had probably long since been fired as sacrifices. The moment our front feet stepped inside, the chairman immediately bounced up, taking small, hurried steps to greet us. Without half a word of nonsense, he went straight in front of my dad and mom, giving a sudden 90-degree standard deep bow. Uncle, Auntie, I'm truly sorry. It's all because our management is rotten to the core, letting this bunch of fools downstairs cause such a massive headache. For you two elders on your day of great joy. On behalf of the entire group, I apologize to the two elders to make amends. No faults could be picked from this attitude. It was absolutely the sincerity of top-tier crisis PR. My dad and mom were both honest folks. When had they ever seen this kind of scene? The chairman of a grand group bending his waist and giving a deep bow scared the old couple to the point where they had nowhere to put their hands. I firmly supported. My mom, my gaze not wavering for a second as I steadily accepted his apology. An apology is just an attitude. To settle matters, real silver and gold sincerity must be brought out. The moment we sat down, the chairman skipped all the polite nonsense and directly slapped down the group's official document. That dead fat guy Zhao, Tiang, and the backer behind him, Chen Mei, have already packed their bags and left on the spot. Mr. Lin, no matter how much money there is, it cannot wipe away your entire family's mental distress. But we will shoulder this blame, and we must let you see our sincerity. He shot a glance at Director Joe beside him, and a thick contract was pushed onto the table. The best friend, lawyer I brought, took it in one move, his eyes starting to scan it like radar. First, all the money your family spent this time. The handling fees, the lost work fees, as long as it's related, the group will fully reimburse it. Second, the group will separately take out $100,000 in cash as a mental compensation fee to calm the two elders down. Third, which is also the most vicious move, we will directly throw $200,000 into the anti-fraud account pool with the header written entirely in your name, Mr. Lin, specifically to help those scammed victims speak the truth. This combo of moves smashing down truly exceeded my psychological expectations, especially throwing money in my name to do charity. These capitalists' brains truly turn incredibly fast. A rock-solid ceiling of crisis PR wanting to wash this pot of dirty water into a gold-lettered brand name. But this wasn't enough. My mind was fixed on a bigger landmine. The money is given very adequately, but I want to know more about how you plan to cut this mess of yours off by the roots. If this had been a soft persimmon today, they would have probably been eaten alive clean through, right? The chairman's face darkened. As he nodded with absolute seriousness. Flipping his hand, he pulled another official document from his bag. This is a strict order rushed out overnight specifically to cure the loopholes of various large, sky-high bills. Next Monday, all nationwide branches will directly lock in a new rule as long as a bill exceeds $3,000. It must involve the person's own phone face scan plus signature. Missing even one won't do. Whoever dares to charge transfer cash or put a bill on account again without a heads up, even if it's a single cent, The manager on duty packs up on the spot and the store digs into its own pocket to fill the hole. Truly thank you, Mr. Lin. You, this hard bone, can be considered to have dug out all the rotten sores of our group completely, serving as a fatal lightning rod for the whole company from top to bottom. The old man stood straight again and bowed politely to me. Seeing this show play out to this point, I knew perfectly well in my heart that the trap was completely broken. The disgusting people had their bowls smashed, the troublemakers bled cash, and it also smoothly forced the loopholes of this crappy industry to be blocked to death. The best friend lawyer flashed an OK gesture, and only then did I with a cold face consider it as taking this sky-high apology gift on behalf of my dad and mom. On behalf of my dad and mom. Not a few days later, the blue background, white letter grand briefing from the police side directly dominated the screens. That scammer who talked complete nonsense, Liu Gang, had his background completely dug clean and went inside to eat prison food. Without a few years, he absolutely won't come out. That hardcore anti-black show on the TV station struck while the iron was hot and made it to prime time. The entire screen was filled with this textbook-level extreme counterkill of mine, along the way giving the citizens of the whole city a fierce self-defense lesson on preventing fraud. As for me personally, not even a single strand of hair was shown. The whole web was left only with a mysterious and domineering Big Brother Lin legend. This absurd, sky-high farce was drawn to a satisfying, crisp full stop. One afternoon, Officer Wang's side suddenly patched through a mysterious dedicated line. The voice crawling out of the earpiece unexpectedly turned out to be that scammer deadbeat's son, Liu Xiaohui. The kid's voice was hoarse as if he had swallowed a razor blade. Across the screen, one could smell that flavor of mental and physical exhaustion. I'm sorry to bother you again. I watched the TV and the case is closed. My dad went inside. And he deserves it. The money paid by the restaurant and that donation, I've heard about them all. Thank you for not driving us, a lone mother and child, to the point of jumping off a building. I've been working a part-time job these past few days, carrying plates and washing dishes in a back kitchen. The money isn't much, but I will definitely earn money cleanly in the future. Liu Xiaohui, the road ahead is still long. Don't carry the sins your father committed on your own shoulders. Don't let his rotten deeds ruin your whole life. Straighten your back to be a proper person, study with all your might. Live uprightly and don't catch a single bit of his foul habits. This is the most awesome strike back you can give. The opposite side instantly went dead silent. Only after a good long while did a crying tone that was desperately held back faintly leak out, clutching this 100,000 yuan obtained for nothing. Not wasting any time, I directly handled two major events. First, I spent heavy money to book a top-tier private room of a high-end private kitchen, separately rehosting for the old couple. A quiet, grand 30th anniversary celebration. Without that bunch of messy dramatic actors, and without those dog eyes blindly scanning people, the family of three closed the door and ate more comfortably than anyone. At the dinner table, my usually quiet dad uncharacteristically took the initiative to raise his goblet, the corners of his eyes radiating a red glow as he stared at his own son. In the past, I always thought, no matter how awesome you were outside, you were still just an immature kid who hadn't grown up. I was terrified you'd be swallowed alive by this society when you were out there on your own. Only after going through this landmine did I finally wake up to reality. This brat of mine has long since reached max level with God-tier gear. Now you can even shield the old man of the family from bullet holes. Dad was completely convinced from the bottom of his heart. Mom beside him couldn't hold it back at all, her tears dropping down clack-clack like beans. It's all thanks to this brat's quick-witted brain. Otherwise, with our old arms and legs, we would have been sold off like piglets and still be applauding for them. Looking at each other's silly expressions, the three of us instantly burst into laughter. All the pent-up, suffocating anger accumulated before was completely evaporated in this table of fine dishes. Having survived this disaster, the family's HP bars were instead fully refilled. The second thing, taking the remaining cash in hand, I directly booked the luxurious 7-day Yunnan tour that the old couple had been longing for years. Booking flights, reserving hotels, and making itineraries the entire journey was a VIP one-stop service, and I shouldered it all. In the airport lobby, watching the old couple hold their boarding passes like curious babies, studying them for ages and taking selfies like crazy against the floor-to-ceiling windows with the planes outside. That sense of accomplishment was simply sweeter than winning the lottery. Relying on my own hard strength to protect my biological dad and mom While smoothly fulfilling their dream, this was damn well more intoxicating than me closing a multi-million-dollar financing deal. Right before takeoff, the back end of my account dinged. It unexpectedly turned out to be a 10,000-word letter of thanks sent by the restaurant's official Weibo. Inside, it was filled with uppercase gratitude and apologies, thanking me for using my own strength to forcefully bring their group's riddled, messy situation back to life. The comment section below was even more directly blown up, the entire screen filled with hyped-up praise. This is the ultimate hidden meaning of a dimension-reducing strike. A textbook-level clutch counterkill, kowtowing like crazy to the big boss, a bodhisattva's heart, must be paired with thunderous methods. Rebuffing these scoundrels to death feels so satisfying, reshaping the entire catering scene by his own strength. Brother, you are the electricity, you are the light, you are the only myth. Curled up in the first-class cabin flying to Kunming, watching large sheets of the sea of clouds drift past outside the window, my heart was surprisingly peaceful. This 60,000 yuan black pot that plummeted from the sky was practically like a devil's test, viciously testing all of my hole cards. The satisfying part was that for this test paper, I directly scored a god-tier critical hit result.